Welcome to the Mac Power Users. I'm David Sparks and joined as always by your friend of mine, Mr. Stephen Robles. Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
I'm doing well, David. How's it going with you?
I can't complain. I'm looking forward to talking with some old friends and some new ones today. Welcome to the show, Brett Terpstra and Christopher Gamblée-Wallencheck.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
guys, guys, you guys built a business together called Bear Glass, and as soon as I saw it, we thought we got to get these guys on Mac Power Users. For folks who don't know, Brett Terpstra, he is in the jacket club of the Mac Power Users. Brett, I don't know how many times you bailed me out, like when Steven or Katie couldn't make it, and you came in and just blew us away with some cool automation tricks. But you and I have, I think, recorded the most shows together without the other co-hosts here than probably any other guest in the show.
What an honor.
Yeah, I mean, I said you get the jacket, man. And Christopher, you and I are new friends, but you and Brett have been building something together.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Brett's for a long time, as well as yours. So it's great to talk to you today. And yeah, I realized around last year that there wasn't really a business that do the sort of nerdy stuff that we love to do, but for businesses as opposed to just for people on the internet and friends. And so that's why we founded Bear and Glass, to be able to sort of take all of this knowledge and experience that we have making people's lives better, but do it for companies.
Yeah. And Christopher, you also started out your Mac journey on the Mac that I lusted after the most of any computer in my life. I never got one, but you started on a Macintosh SE.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I was a probably kindergartner, first grader at the time, but it was the first family computer, and I've been a Mac user ever since. Going from an SE to a Mac Classic to a to Performa, a iMac, the grape flavored iMac, and and since then just it kept going, and I've just been a Mac user throughout my entire life. So it's really something. And as a matter of fact, when I was in elementary school, they would get Macs in different classrooms, and I would be called out of my room to go help with with other classes' computers. So I was sort of the
You kicked off Bear and Glass in elementary school, is what you're telling us.
yeah, exactly. That
Yeah.
and it's something I've loved to do since then. So it just made a ton of sense to launch this business with Brett.
I don't remember how much money it cost, that Macintosh SE, but it was more money than I had, and boy, did I want that computer. Steven, you ever had like a Mac that you just really wanted that you just couldn't afford? Like you kind of fell into it and got the first one that you fell in love with, didn't you?
Well, I grew up with IBM and then Compact Presario, so I was in the
Yeah.
Windows world my entire childhood, playing King's Quest on Windows. My first
Yeah.
Mac wasn't until college, but just recently, and I'm asking the entire internet for help. My first Mac was a G4 12-inch PowerBook. We talked about it on the show. And I've been searching for that because I sold it on like Craigslist years ago. And I actually found the box at my mom's house with the serial number. So I now have the serial number of my original Mac, and I am embarking on a likely impossible quest to find my first Mac somewhere in the world and re-buy it back. We'll see if it ever happens.
What about you, Brett? Was there ever like the Mac that you wanted that you could never get?
No, I was a ardent PC guy as a teenager, and like I got my first PC Junior when I was 6
Yeah.
back in like 84, and then just was PC only, loved Linux, was like I I was anti Microsoft, but I was pro PC until the year 2000. I had to start using Mac G5 for work. I had a job as an art director, and it only made sense to have Macs in the studio. And then I fell in love with them. And so my first personal Mac was, oh, I don't remember. I got a laptop, whatever the MacBook Pro equivalent was in like 2002.
Book,
Back then. Yeah.
PowerBook. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it is a journey, guys. It is a journey. And here we are, a bunch of Mac nerds sitting together on the Mac Power Users podcast. For folks who don't know Brett, you've had a lot of different experiences over the years. You're a developer. You make the excellent Marked app along with several others. Brett's website is one of my favorite places to send Mac Power users because Brett does all these fun little projects where you come up with something to scratch an itch of yours, and then you just share it with the internet. And it's really great, the stuff that you add to the community.
So side note, I was super honored. Have you ever seen my project Doing?
Yes.
It's a command line tool for kind of recording what you've been working on. Rather than a to-do list, it's a to-done list.
Yeah.
But it has like built-in time tracking and stuff like that. Yeah. And I heard from a guy who was like, "Do you mind if I rewrite this in Rust?" And he made a feature for feature replication of Doing in Rust, which is way faster than Ruby. And like I don't know. I'm super flattered by that.
I think really what you're onto with that is like one of the things, like the promises of local AI is a logger of that nature, that we could trust. Because like normal people don't remember where the file was or the attachment. But if you have, I think like the way Microsoft is doing it with a series of screenshots, but you've got a way to just automatically track yourself, and then the computer knows more about where things are, and you just ask it and it goes and finds it. I mean, I think we're heading that way.
I bought one of those pendants that records like voices around you, especially for meetings and stuff.
They kind of creep me out. But
was it the Plod? The Plod one?
No, it was
the
one of the first
the
ones.
B one. Oh, okay.
No. It was early on, and I drilled them about privacy. I was like, I'm not going to buy this. They wanted me to cover it and review it, and I needed to know all about privacy. And they had a pretty good spiel. And then this year, they sold to Meta, and I threw it away.
Yeah. I actually used the Plod one, and I actually found some interesting use cases, like, walking around a conference trade show floor. If you can just have like a running transcript of every conversation you've had that then you can search, it makes all of that, everything you might have forgot to write down, immediately accessible. But then it's like you'd have to ask permission of everyone you talk to that, hey, this is being recorded. I don't know where this is being sent. So there's tremendous value there that's possible, but also, privacy is an issue.
Here's my concern. I have always found that note-taking in the moment helps me remember things. I rarely even have to consult my notes, because if I took the time to write it down, that brain connection was made and I remember it. If we automate all of that and we never have to, we don't even have to pay attention when we're talking to somebody. It'll just all be written down and read to us through an AI summary later. Is it going to make us dumber?
That's the age-old question. When people started writing things down back in ancient Greece, the scholars said that
the oral tradition was interrupted. Yeah.
And it's always a question, but there is science behind the act of writing things down to help you retain. And I think it is something definitely to take note of. I mean, I really think we're at this like crossroads with artificial intelligence where it's getting useful, but we have to, as humans, be very careful about what we allow it to do and what we don't allow it to do. And I think that's going to be a real challenge I'm not sure people are ready for, to be honest with you.
I know this is a bit of a tangent, but I just want to mention, and I'll link in the show notes, that MIT did this study and it put two groups of people where they let them use ChatGPT to help them write an essay first, and another group where they had to write an essay without AI's help. And then both groups wrote a second essay. And the group that had to write it all themselves first with no AI help wrote a better essay with AI than the group that had to start with AI and then let it not be able to use it the second round. And so it does show that even in these early days, there is a difference, and it changes how you think when you're relying on some of these AI tools from the beginning. So we'll see.
My daughter is a high school teacher, and she was telling me, that's the thing. The kids use AI to write the essays. And some kid in her class says, if we don't want to get caught, we just make sure to add a couple typos and, mess up a
Remove
few
some M
sentences.
dashes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he says it's not that hard. And she said,
That's what's the M dash is what's killing me. I love M dashes. I use them all the
Me
time.
too.
And
was gonna say the
suddenly I'm
exact
being
same thing.
accused. I'm being accused of being AI because I like an
Yeah.
M dash.
The same thing. We're
Just
getting
got to
the
move
point
over to
where
semicolons, I guess.
I'm
Oh,
just like
God.
almost I'm gun shy to use them anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was in school, I would obviously take notes during class, and again, just that act of writing it down, I very rarely had to study much for tests because just the act of writing it down was what sort of imprinted it on my brain. And I do feel like, while there are going to be these AI tools that can, record and, scan through this data for us, I mean, we still can write things down. I mean, I've got my little field notes right here. So, nothing's going to take that away from us.
And to
Yeah.
bring this around to Barren Glass, one of our prime directives is we create things without AI. We'll use AI for a company where it makes business sense, but what we provide to companies will be written by a human and coded by a human, and we take pride in providing boutique, human-driven experiences.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
what does that mean if I'm like out there and I'm like a dentist or somebody and like, my systems are pretty creaky. What could you guys do for me?
Yeah. So like that's a very broad question, but great question. We can automate just about anything that is tedious in let's say a dentist's office. You've got obviously some HIPAA stuff, I think, that we're not probably qualified to work with, but all of your invoicing, all of your customer management, your in-office practices, any data you're sharing that isn't HIPAA protected, like we can make anything that you have to do repeatedly, we can make it automated so that it's either the click of a button or it just happens in the background automatically.
Can I ask the obvious big question real quick? You said you don't want to use AI for this, and the type of use cases you just described sounds like that's what AI is made for. Do you find that how you guys are doing it makes better automation, better end products, or is it just the ethos of you don't want to use AI?
Again, really good question. There is a certain ethos of we don't want to use AI because there's not really a place for us. If you can automate your own task with AI, that we're unnecessary, and that's fine. Like we come in the areas where maybe AI isn't prepared or isn't specifically tailored to do your task. If we're given it, because we'll sit down and we'll do a consultation with a team or a company, and if what they're asking for, if what we see in their workflow that could be automated makes more sense to automate with AI, we're going to tell them that. We're not going to try to recreate what AI could do with blood, sweat, and tears when it doesn't make sense to do that.
And a couple things there. A lot of this AI-based automation can get extremely expensive and token heavy if it's the kind of stuff that Brett can solve with scripts. I think there are definitely two paths there, and I would just add to it. In the years I've known Brett, he is to me the alpha automator of the Macintosh platform. I mean, he can do just about anything. I've in the past had little problems, and I send him an email, and suddenly a script comes back. Or I know you've worked with a lot of people over the years, so I'm really happy to see you kind of monetizing this and making it a service that can help more than just little individual users like me.
Or you make a bunch feature request, and I turn it out the next day.
Yeah.
And then another point with regards to AI, in terms of a business context, AI does a lot of things great, but in terms of what we want to present to our clients, the work that we do, I still don't quite feel comfortable, providing AI generated, vibe coded or, documentation that was written by AI. We really want to, what we present will be all of our own work. But again, if the right solution, if, obviously if the right tool and the right solution is there and it's AI, then obviously we'll let people know that. But in terms of what we provide, what we create, it's not something that we're gonna, spout off in an afternoon and say, here you go, have fun, without really, without taking care. And that care is, I think, the most important part.
I'd imagine, frankly, a lot of your business comes from people that have privacy concerns. Like going back to our dentist, the dentist can't send patient records up to ChatGPT or Claude, so they lose that power of that AI anyway.
And local Apple intelligence won't cut it for a lot of those kind of things. Not yet,
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah, but a well-written script that's local can actually give you that automation without putting data out there.
Yeah, and one of the things I've run into over time is that local scripts are somewhat fragile. Like you get this system automated, it's running in the background, and you forget about it for 6 months, and then something stops working, and you have to go back in and you have to repair a script that was very tailor written for this project and doesn't have any external support. So people that I've written scripts for come back to me and I end up rewriting scripts after 6 months. And I often do it at a very reduced rate, which isn't great for me and my time. But what I've learned over the last 27 some years of automating is how to make truly future-proof, stable scripts that once they're working, they'll be guaranteed to continue working to the extent that I would put a guarantee on it and say, if this breaks, I will fix it.
Well, honestly, if I had a difficult automation problem and I could pick one person in the world to try and fix it, it would be Brett Terpstra. I would fire
That's
you
so
out of
sweet.
a cannon at that problem and it would get solved. Yeah. So I think you guys have good things ahead of you. And anybody out there listening, if you've got a need for Baron Glass, check them out. Or if you know somebody that may have a need, help these guys out, help them get some business. And I think you'll be doing a favor to anybody you recommend them to.
Curious,
Target.
is there ever a time when shortcuts come into play in how you work with businesses?
Yeah, for sure. Especially if they need iOS integration with whatever workflow we're talking about, absolutely shortcuts do come into play. I've learned a lot about shortcuts from Katie over the years. Really, all of my shortcut skills have come from learning from what Katie does over time. But I was going to say our target audience for anyone listening, we're interested in small to medium businesses. So like 5 to 50 people, but we're also entirely prepared to work with small teams in larger corporations. I know that in my time at Oracle, Oracle's a massive company, but I was always on teams of 5 to 10 people, and I would develop the automations for that team to do their job better, which ended up making the managers look great. And we will write the proposal to show your manager what we can do for your team. And for your manager to show their higher ups and get approval on everything. We have experience in doing that, and we can make it easy.
That's the thing about you, Brett, that I always forget. It's like because you help me out and a lot of Mac users out with the cool stuff you make. But then we talk, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm at a conference redoing the whole back end for the XYZ company." You've always got these big projects going on. So I think this makes total sense. And I really am looking forward to hearing about your success.
Thanks.
Can I ask where the name came from? Baron Glass?
Go ahead.
So I'll take this one. So there's the fun one and then there's the real one. The fun one is that I've got roots in Vermont. Brett is from Minnesota. Nature is a big part of those states. Bears are not uncommon. And then for the glass side, it's silicon. The sand that makes silicon can also make glass, and so it's sort of a combination of the natural side of things and the technology side of things. That's the fun answer. The real answer is, on our first call, I mentioned to Brett that we're just a couple of dudes with beards and glasses, and so we chopped off the end of those words and got Bear and Glass.
Nice. I like it.
Brett, as always, you blow my mind with your posts. You wrote one just last week about the ultimate keyboard-driven Mac utility list. Us Mac Power users on this show, we love keyboard shortcuts. You always bring this to another level. I want to talk about some of your workflows and apps on your keyboard.
Okay. Do you have any particular questions, or do you want my highlights?
I want to start out with just the hardware. You're still on that ultimate hacking keyboard, right?
I am, but my time is split. I have dysautonomic symptoms, including POTS that make me pass out when I stand up. And my office and my ultimate hacking keyboard are in the basement. And going down a flight of wooden stairs when I am prone to passing out is a terrifying proposition. So quite a few days, and for almost a year, almost exclusively, I was working on like upstairs at a table or on the couch. And I got really good finally at using my MacBook's built-in keyboard. For a long time, the reason I initially got into mechanical keyboards was carpal tunnel had made my first two fingers and my thumb on both hands numb. And I couldn't touch type on a low profile keyboard anymore. But I got surgery for that. I have feeling in my fingers again, and I've gotten good at both switching between the Ultimate Hacking keyboard and my MacBook Pro's keyboard.
And that's a question in itself, because I think there's a lot of people like that. I'm one of them. I have a clicky keyboard here. Like, I saw your post the other day. I got it out. I used it for like 24 hours, and then I went back again to the Apple keyboard. I am so spoiled by that Touch ID. And frankly, the travel on the Apple keyboard is kind of nice for me. I find that typing with a high travel mechanical keyboard is kind of hard. And also I keep it on top of my desk, which isn't ergonomically perfect either. But I think a lot of people who do work with the laptop keyboard or a Apple keyboard feel like that they can't go crazy with keyboard hacking because there's just not that many options. Whereas if you get like one of the third-party keyboards, there's a lot of software that lets you really remap it and do a bunch of cool stuff. How are you, as a starting point, if you're using an Apple keyboard, what's the tool set you're using to make it dance for you?
So Karabiner Elements, first and foremost, used to be known as just Karabiner. And then after a major OS update and a refactoring of how it worked at a system level, it became Karabiner Elements. And that tool lets you perform simple and complex remapping of keys. The first one I always do is to turn my caps lock key into a combination of Control, Shift, Option, and Command, which makes it basically a new modifier key. And if I tap it once, it's my escape key. So I never reach up for the escape key. And I have a whole series of keyboard shortcuts built around what it's called the hyper key.
All right. Now, Karabiner Elements, I want to talk about that for a quick second, because a lot of people write me. They're like, I'm not sure about this app. It seems kind of hacky. Is this something I can trust? I have been running it for a long time. I feel like it's got more stable over the years, but what's your general response when people tell you they're worried about this app?
It is actively developed. Over the course of the last few beta OS updates that have come out, it has broken, and the developers have been right on top of fixing it for like beta OS releases. And to me, that's the I trust an app if I can see that it's actively developed. That end, it works. But yeah, Karabiner is trustworthy, actively developed, and it has never let me down in the 10, 15 years I've been using it.
Can I ask
So,
just a quick follow-up question?
yeah.
David said about your ultimate keyboard something. Is that like a keyboard model? Is that a keyboard?
Yeah,
Like, what is that?
it's called the Ultimate Hacking Keyboard. It looks like
Oh
this.
my, what in the world? Okay.
Yeah, and I have it set up so it's tented with wrist rests, and it's a split keyboard, like a 70% keyboard. So there's no arrow cluster, there's no function keys. All of that is handled through modifiers. Like I just hold down my left thumb and use IJKL as arrow keys. The spacebar is split in half, and I have it set up so the right half of it is the mod key. And when I hold
Goodness.
that down, it changes the functionality of all the other keys.
Okay.
This is a
Yeah,
this is a
and
keyboard, Stephen. You have entered the matrix here with this keyboard, and
I've
like it's
never seen anything like this.
yeah,
What?
and you have to. I think you reserve one, and then they have to go
Yeah, so-
squeeze the tears out of the unicorn before they make it.
in
for you.
this picture on the right side at the top of your screen is the new version of the Ultimate Hacking Keyboard, which has way too many keys for me. Like it has the arrow cluster and everything. The version on the left is what I have. And yeah, they've always had limited production. It can take 6 months to a year to get your actual keyboard. They have been, I joined them like back when they were a Kickstarter project many years ago. And since then, they have kept me supplied with like beta releases and new updates. I have 3 boards right now and a whole range of keys. Because the best thing about mechanical keyboards is keycaps, right? Except if you look at this keyboard, none of the keys are normal sizes. Like the tab, caps lock, shift, and then all the keys at the bottom are all like 5 units off from a regular key. So buying custom keycaps for them has been a pain, which is where I would give a shout out to yuzu.com, YUZU. That site has a UHK specific keyboard customizer that has saved me. I keep buying new sets. The one I showed you is like my pastel 80s set. But I've done a whole bunch of different ones with that.
What this keyboard is, like, if you're interested, like if you want to use modifiers and keep your hands on the keyboard, literally for everything from mouse clicks to, like you said, arrow keys, everything is right under his fingers. And Brett's got a bunch of posts. I'll find some links for the show notes on your Ultimate Hacking Keyboard system.
But for example, on my MacBook Pro keyboard, I don't have that modifier key. So what I have it set up to do is if I hold down semicolon, then IJKL becomes an arrow cluster for me, so I don't have to move my hand off the home row over to the arrow keys.
Wow.
I want to get to that.
Is that a red mouse? Like, is that a mouse? That red nub?
Yeah,
there?
that's a trackball.
So that's like the old school, like IBM ThinkPad, like red nubbin mouse.
Almost.
Whoa.
It's not a J key, but it is an actual trackpad with 2 buttons, and you can click it. And they have a trackpad version of that thumb module. Both those things in the middle are thumb modules that can be.
Okay, I didn't realize this world existed. I don't even know what to do right now.
Well, you can really follow.
But if there
on
was
that
someone
rabbit.
who was going to be a part of this world, you knew it was going to be Brett.
Yeah. Okay.
But let's get back to the folks that are using their Apple keyboard, and starting with Karabiner Elements. Like I can tell you, I use it, but very limited. Like I have the hyper key, which you described earlier, on my caps lock key, and then on the right option or the right control key, I map that to F13. So whenever I need like a dictation trigger or something, I just use a standard F13, and I never use that right option key for anything else.
Right.
And that is trivial in Karabiner Elements. If you download the app, you just click on the button, say, they have a script written for you to turn it into the hyper key, the caps lock key, which changes everything in terms of keyboard shortcuts. And then you can also remap an individual key very easily. So I don't do a lot with it, but it's critical to me. And I also feel it. Like when it doesn't work, it's like, oh, it's like my Mac just broke if I don't have that hyper key. And I think that, and there's other ways to do this if you want to be a little safer. I'm not going to say safer because I feel like Karabiner Elements is fine. But if you have Better Touch Tool, they have an element in there to remap the hyper key onto caps lock key. But I find it works
There's
better
also-
with Karabiner Elements. Yeah.
Super key. Have you seen that one?
No.
SuperKey also purported, and I've never gotten the HyperKey to work with either SuperKey or Better Touch Tool.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does work. Lots of people do it. I've had trouble, and I've always gone back to Karabiner. But SuperKey, which gives you this amazing search window, you hit your shortcut key, and it pops up a little search bar, kind of spotlight style, and you type the letters of anything that appears on your screen, and when you hit enter, it'll click that text with a mouse. But it also can do HyperKey and what it calls the meh key, which is just like control option shift, I think, or command option shift and not control. But it is, once you get used to using it, like I don't hate the mouse. I use my trackpad all the time. I'm a huge fan of the Apple trackpad, especially in combination with Better Touch Tool. But for quick clicking around, of things that I immediately register as, oh, I want to click the Open Graph bookmarklet in my toolbar, I just pop up SuperKey and type OPE and then hit enter, and it's clicked, and I haven't left my home row.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so,
that's where it really gets hit. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steven.
No, I asked David this a few weeks ago, and so you probably have so many utilities running in the background. What do you ever run into conflicts with keys overlapping or keyboard shortcuts that are programmed in multiple apps, or do you ever have those kind of, just cognitive moments where you're like, what app is running this keyboard command?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is a place, if the utility doesn't already exist, a place that can show you where all of your keyboard shortcuts are mapped to and where you might have a conflict or why the heck something's doing what it's doing. I do run into that. I have a pretty, if there's one thing I keep in my brain, it's keyboard shortcuts, and I can generally figure out where something is. And when I need to assign a shortcut, I have a pretty good idea, like what's available on my keyboard. I kind of am at max right now. I think I have keyboard shortcuts assigned to just about everything that's obvious, which is why tools like LeaderKey and LaunchBar have been like super useful, because with LaunchBar, you can, instead of assigning a keyboard shortcut to an app, you just type Control Space and then type the first couple letters of the app, just like you would in Spotlight, but with a few more features. And anyone familiar with Mac power users is familiar with Alfred and LaunchBar and all of that. But LeaderKey is a kind of new one that lets you assign key sequences to launching apps. Have you guys ever talked about that on the show?
I have it installed. I've been playing with it. I want to put a pause in that just for a second, because LeaderKey brings us to another level down the stack.
Okay.
But before we get there, like you talked about the launch bar, and I use a very similar method with Keyboard Maestro with their conflict palettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I use the HyperKey plus a letter to do a whole series of things. Like for me, to window management is the caps lock, which is a HyperKey plus K. And then that opens up a menu, and it's also using kind of the first player control, JKL. So if I want on the left side, I hit J. If I want on the right side, I hit L. If I want on the top, I hit I. So it's like the arrow keys around that finger. But all I have to remember to resize a window is K, because it's right in the middle of that stack. Or like for all the Mac Sparky contextual stuff, it's caps lock plus M, and then it opens a list of like 30 or 40 items. And if I just type a few letters, it gets me to the one I want. And I think that is a next level for people who don't want to go to the LeaderKey, which we're going to talk about, that gets you that ability to put together basically conflict-based keyboard shortcuts. So instead of having to remember 40 shortcuts for Mac Sparky, I just have to remember one, caps lock plus M. And then I think for a lot of people, that's a great way to make better use of keyboard shortcuts.
I can take that concept really nerdy for a second.
Yeah, please do.
Ever since even before OS X came out, I believe Mac has had a file in your library folder called default keybindings.dict, D-I-C-T. And it's a plist file containing key assignments. So you might be familiar with Emacs keyboard shortcuts. Like if you're in any Mac text field in any app, you can type Control A to go to beginning of line, Control E to go to end of line. There are like H, B, J, like they all NP, they all do different things, and that works for everybody with no adjustment. Like you go on your Mac right now, that'll work. The default key bindings dict file lets you assign any kind of text maneuvering and manipulation, copy, cut, paste, to any keyboard shortcut you want, and it can handle key sequences. So I can type Control Command W L, and it'll create a markdown link out of selected text with my clipboard text, and that's without any additional utilities. That's just editing a text file on my Mac.
You have covered that really well over on your website at brettterpstra.com. Your key bindings. I mean, I went down that rabbit hole. I follow you, Brett, and so I'm going to link that in the notes too. If you want to rewrite the key bindings on your computer, you literally can. And the advantage of this stuff I'm talking about is you don't have to have an Ultimate Hacker's keyboard. You can do this on your laptop built-in keyboard. And then, and that brings us to this next level of LeaderKey. And the concept you said earlier of like, I hit the semicolon with the hyper key and then it really just turns my keyboard into arrow keys for a minute until the next keystroke. That's what I would consider the next level down on this stuff. So talk about those tools for a minute.
So the semicolon remapping is through Karabiner, and that is what's basically Karabiner has simple and complex modifications, and the complex modifications are crazy because you can get into like delays. Like if I hit my right shift key twice fast, it's an escape key, but twice slow, it's an F13 like you use. And you can get like fine grained control. And then LeaderKey is an open source app. It was vibe coded as far as I know, but it's well done. You assign it to a hotkey. In my case, Hyper A brings up LeaderKey, and then you can have nested folders of URLs, including like URL schemes from other Mac apps and applications. So if I type Hyper A and then type B, that opens up my most common URLs. And I can type just one letter to launch a URL. And once you memorize the sequence, it becomes muscle memory. But if you don't remember, you can pause for a second and it'll pop up something similar to a conflict palette.
Yeah. And that's the thing about LeaderKey. It does give you a menu, so you don't have to rely on your memory.
Yeah.
Because it's a new app, I've been a little hesitant to talk about it because it's like, how long is this thing going to be around? Is it, can people like invest in it? But it seems like whoever's behind it is putting some real wood behind the arrow because it is getting updates. And
the guy behind it, and I don't remember his name offhand, but he is.
Is this the GitHub?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Micker. He's very prolific. He makes really good YouTube videos if you ever want to follow like how he builds his apps. Yeah, he's fun to watch. And yeah, I think it's got some staying power. I can't guarantee it'll be around in 5 years, but
yeah. But it's great.
What is your learning curve? Like when you are setting up a bunch of new macros or a tool like this, how long does it take you for it to be muscle memory? Like how long is the cognitive load to think, oh, this is this and this is that until it's natural?
I've talked about this a lot, but when I'm using a Mac app, like any Mac app, I will use Command-Shift ? To pop open the help search menu. And I will start to type the first few letters of what it is I want to find in the menu. And that will locate it. And when it locates it, it'll show me the shortcut key. And I will take note of what that shortcut key is. And I will try to commit it to memory. And it will often take 2 or 3 times of doing that before it's cemented in my memory. And I'll keep using the help search until I get there. And it's the same with LeaderKey. Like David said, when you pop it up, if you pause a second, it will give you a menu and it'll show you what key will do what. So then I take note and I'm like, okay, for next time, this sequence will get to the app that I just tried to launch. And yeah, 2 or 3 times, and it becomes memorable, to the kind of thing you have to pause for a second and think about it, but you remember what it is. And then after maybe a week of actually using it, at least for things that I'm doing constantly, then it becomes truly muscle memory that I don't have to think about.
Another app you mentioned in this article is, I think, maybe my favorite utility in the last few years, Paletro. And
Oh my
what
gosh,
Paletro
yes.
does, you hit Shift Command P. You can get it as part of your set app subscription. Shift Command P, and it searches the menus of your active application. And that has saved me so much time.
It
love
gets you
that
like
little app.
fuzzy. So anyone who's worked in like VS Code or Cursor or any VS Code kind of application is familiar with Command Shift P as the command palette, where you type Command Shift P and then you have a fuzzy type ahead search to find the menu item you want to execute. And Paletro brings that to like every Mac app. And you could just type 2 letters, not even consecutive letters, and you can find the command you're looking for, and it remembers your most recently used commands, so it presents those first. It's such a good app.
If you're listening to the show and saying key bindings, these guys are on the planet Mars, but if you're thinking that, download Paletro. That's your free one today, and you will, I guarantee you will not regret having that app, because it's Command Shift P in any app. It searches the menus. How much time do I waste, hunting and pecking through menus that Paletro solves for me?
What? Sorry. So I am still reeling from half of the stuff.
I think we broke Steven.
Well, I'm already trying to catch up on all the apps that David tells me to get. If someone is trying to start automating keyboard shortcuts and they're like my level, like they have a clipboard manager, they're using text expander for some things. I use a lot of text expanders, and I still actually use Spotlight for a lot of things. Like, what is next step into that? Like, is it starting with Paletro? Is it starting with one of the apps that you were mentioning? What's the next step?
Yeah. So Paletro would be a great, I think, next step, because it's very intuitive and it's one keyboard shortcut to remember, and it speeds up all of your usual mouse-based stuff. I would say, like, if you want to get to like Mac power users level automation, your next step would be Keyboard Maestro. And Better Touch Tool. Like, they're both really powerful automation apps that have good graphical user interfaces that are easy to start doing things that make sense to you. And that's the thing with customization, is you're building things that work the way your brain already works. You're not trying to shoehorn yourself into someone else's keyboard shortcuts or automations. You're building, I want to launch mail when I hit hyper Q. And so I just set up my hyper key in Karabiner, and then that shortcut in Better Touch Tool, and it's done.
Yeah, and I'm a little less on the nerdy side of this divide, but I think it kind of speaks to sort of how Brett and I complement each other. I am a big fan of gestures on my trackpad. Better Touch Tool is a brilliant tool for that. Customizing. I also have a Stream Deck that I use, not for any streaming purposes, but just to have a little dashboard with the commands I can have at the push of a button that I don't need to remember because they've got little pictures on them. Do any of you guys remember the Leap motion device, the little thing that could sense?
I'm so bummed that stopped working.
Yeah. Me too. Because
when I was Minority Report thing going.
Yeah, so for people listening, you could stick your hand in front of your computer and move it around, and it would do things.
It was just like an IR sensor or something that it would recognize like the number of fingers you're holding up, and if you're moving them up or down or left or right. And for a long time, I was in the SaaS customer support business. And when working phone support, the phone app we used wouldn't stop music from playing when the phone rang. And so what I would do is just wave 4 fingers up in front of my computer, and music would stop and I'd click over to the phone. It was very, I mean, a little gimmicky, but it worked really well. And I loved that thing, man. So that's sort of the side of the divide that I fall on.
To go back to Brett's answer, something I'd like to add is I think like once you get past like Paletro and you want to do a little more, I really think it's worth downloading Karabiner Elements and just going with the hyper key there. It's the most stable way to get it. And the advantage
they have a
of
bunch of presets too that you don't have to manually program.
Exactly. You push one button. And if you're in the Max Market Labs, I already made videos on how to do it. But the thing is, so then the caps lock key becomes this extra key, and there's no keyboard conflicts with it because no app is written to use all those modifier keys. So you've got a clean slate across your keyboard. And that way, that caps lock key plus any letter that makes sense to you, like M to me makes sense for MacSparky, K makes sense for window management. You guys want to guess which letter I use for personal stuff? P. It's not that hard because you've got, these palettes together. You don't use that many, but the caps lock key becomes this magic key, and it works on your laptop, your Macintosh keyboard, your Apple keyboard, your ultimate hacking keyboard, whatever keyboard you use. The Karabiner Elements will map it for you, and then off you go. And that's probably enough for most people.
One other level I think is relevant after these initial key binding steps is your basic text snippet manager, text plays or text expander. But I did want to mention CoTypist. I don't know if you guys have tried this, but
Yes.
It is inline AI autocomplete as you type. And once it learns your typing style, learns what names you use, proper nouns, like it picks up on all of this and remembers it and it's spooky as I'm writing, how it will just figure out the next entire sentence that I'm about to write. And I can just hit Control F and insert a sentence. And it's not the same as having AI write an article for you because you are literally guiding it sentence by sentence. It's just doing what Text Expander has always done for me, where I have shortcuts for things I commonly type, except now I don't have to create snippets. I just start typing and it just figures out where I'm going.
Yeah, that app is developed by a friend of mine, and I've watched this grow, and I was really glad you linked it because I think this app is really next level. And
yeah, Daniel, it's the same guy who makes timing.app.
Exactly. Yeah. Occasional sponsor, not frequently. I think they've sponsored Mac Power Users once or twice in the past, but man, he is onto something with his app, and I've not seen anybody do it nearly as well as he has. Yeah. This is a great app. All right. Well, I think we've given people enough for their keyboard.
I think we've overwhelmed plenty of people.
I'm looking at Steven
company
right
included.
I'm trying to figure out what to download first. I mean, we talked about CoType. I'm going to try actually this because it's only $7 one-time purchase, and I do think that's a really useful ability because I know there's a lot of stuff in that menu bar in all the menus. You know what I mean? And I'll go up there and click.
Not be on Setup.
I buy all my stuff individually. I should probably go on Setup.
I appreciate that. It's fine.
But yeah, I'm gonna try some of these. I'm working up to Keyboard Maestro. I think David and I are gonna record a bonus episode, and he's just gonna give me a boot camp on Keyboard Maestro for all the things.
Yeah, I do think the Paletro is a great place to start and then you just have to remember every time you go to your mouse from menu, it said hit Shift Command P, and within a week or two that'll become second nature to you, and it really speeds things up. All right, we'll put a break there.
Yep.
Yeah, could you guys give me 1 second? Some groceries just got delivered, and I want to bring them inside.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks.
Yeah. My browser is yelling at me about my disk storage, and I really don't know what to do.
Well, hopefully it works.
Hopefully it works.
We won't have a video, but we have a recording.
Your trash lately?
I mean, it's the browser cache, and I use Brave browser, and it by default puts like shields up that it calls, which is all like the ad blockers and stuff, which might be limiting the caching it can do. In order to turn shields off, I have to refresh the page, and I imagine that's going to stop the recording, and I don't know. So I'm just going to see what Descript does. We'll see.
Yeah, I really go back and forth on that because, like, I generally use Safari. Brett, what's your main browser these days?
Firefox.
Firefox, right?
Firefox.
Yeah. I knew that was a while ago. I don't know if you're still using it. But like for these services stuff like Riverside and Descript, I always feel like just use Chrome for those because that's what they're built for. But the I don't really use it for
all I
anything
use
else.
Chrome for is for video chat stuff.
Well, and Brave usually has my back, but Descript is just, I don't know what. Well,
Chromium, Brave is Chromium, and I don't generally appreciate Chromium's memory management. And like I don't know the reasons it excels at video conferencing, but it does everything else relatively poorly, in my opinion. Safari has good memory management. Firefox has all the privacy of Brave and like less transphobic community behind it, and amazing plugin availability. And yeah, I settled on Firefox quite a while ago, about the time I decided Chrome was dead to me. WebKit and Mozilla.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Firefox in Safari that doesn't work. A lot of the plugins, that's the downside on.
Yeah. I wrote a Safari plugin for the first time since, like, I used to have one before they actually had a plugin app store. I had one called Tab Links that would just take all your current tabs and output them as a markdown list. But I just built one for Mark III that lets you send any web page to Marked and Markdownify it. That'll be released soon too.
All right.
Pretty cool.
You guys ready? Groceries in the fridge? Everything all right?
Groceries in the fridge. All set.
No broken eggs? We good?
Nope. All set.
All right. Okay. Brett, you make a lot of stuff, but I think one of the greatest things you make is Marked. And Marked is, I guess it's a markdown utility. It's a hard app to describe because it does so much. But it, if you work with markdown files, this is a great tool to have in your belt. And as we record this, you're on the verge of releasing version 3. Why don't you tell the audience what is Marked and why is it so cool?
So the one thing Marked is an editor. But I'm going to come back to that in a second, because what Marked does is give you a live preview so you can edit in your favorite editor, and it will always show you the most up-to-date version of the file you're working on. And it adds all kinds of writing tools. You can see your word repetition, your passive voice, your keywords. You can see detailed statistics, gunning fog index, readability ease, grade level. I just added support for pretty much all Romance languages with the readability statistics. So it does everything from Italian to Portuguese now. And it also adds extensive export options. So if you're writing in Markdown and you want to work in a corporate environment where everyone expects a PDF or a docx file, Marked makes that transition really easy for you. The new version, Mark III, 10x's the docx support, and now it is fully qualified docx files with all the styles and everything, so you can just go in and change your H1 style and it'll change the whole document. And it can round trip it, so you can open a docx file in Marked and export it as Markdown, edit it there, and then save back to docx. I spent a lot of time on that, not because it's a huge portion of the market, but for people in corporate environments, that meant they couldn't use Markdown, and that hurts my soul. So I wanted to make that more possible.
And Markdown is more relevant now than I think it's ever been. Like, a lot of the companies now are doing support document in Markdown. The like with the age of AI, like the stuff I'm doing with my robot assistant is all in Obsidian, which is Markdown. I'm not a big fan of the way stuff looks in Obsidian, but I run Marked next to it. I get a nice view of anything I'm working on. I just feel like now more than ever, Marked has a place in the world.
Yeah. My sales in the age of AI have gone up 5 times. It tripped me out at first because I couldn't find where this traffic was coming from. Like there was no explanation for why all of a sudden I was making 5 times as much money. I finally figured out that if you ask an LLM how to view or export your Markdown, it will recommend my app. And that has been huge for sales. And you're right, like Markdown is becoming the de facto language for web producers, for authors, for note takers. And it's the language that LLM speak, especially for coders. Like if you're going to communicate with or read the output from an LLM or any AI tool, you're going to get it in Markdown.
It's really even more than that. It's the language of skills on AI. Like if you're working with Cloud Cowork, the skill files are all written in Markdown. And that's, these things are being written by AI in conjunction with humans. And they're massive. And Markdown is just the perfect way to do it. It's fast, it's easy to access. And again, if you want it to look good, you get marked. And so I'm really excited for Mark 3. In addition to your export and your word compatibility, what are some of the other things that are coming with it?
Well, export also adds EPUB and text bundle and a whole bunch of others. There is a whole custom style manager now. You've never been able to do that before, and like reorder your styles, rename them, enable and disable even the built-in styles. And there's a built-in style generator. So you can start a style from scratch. You can choose a base typography theme from about 50 themes, and then you can tweak all of the spacing and sizing and colors and save that as a new custom style in Marked and use that for your previews. And you can have as many as you want and flip between them. There's also custom rules. This is for the nerdy people, but for anyone who wants to do more than just preview their Markdown and wants to do more advanced things like adjust metadata or run scripts or even run your own third-party processor like Pandoc, you can build rules where it takes like the file name or the tree it's in or the metadata type, any number of predicates, and then runs a series of actions based on matching files. For example, I use different processing for files in my Obsidian vault than I do for files in my drafts folder of my blog. So I can have it look for the .obsidian file inside an Obsidian vault, and then it knows it's in Obsidian, and it will render all the callouts and everything the way that I would expect Obsidian to. And then for my drafts folder, it can run different processing the way I would, so I could preview it as if it were going to my blog.
I don't run Marked with drafts. Maybe I should. So what are the things that you do with it?
I should clarify. When I say drafts folder, I mean the actual drafts folder of my Jekyll blog.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
it does also work great with drafts. Like drafts has in their action repository, there is a stream to Mark action that will actually, normally you have to hit save to get Mark to update because it watches the files for changes. With the streaming action in drafts, it's as you type, it'll update your marked preview. And that's available in Bear and Drafts, MindNode Classic. It has a bunch of people have integrated the streaming preview, but
of course, Greg Pierce would be on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Drafts always has the best feature. But like another way this is useful, like because I oftentimes finish writing a blog post in Obsidian, starts in Drafts and goes to Obsidian, but I can put up a facsimile of my website with Marked. So you know how when you write things, sometimes seeing it in a different format lets you find more typos. That's something I find Marked is really handy.
They added a style stealer too, so you can load up. You can load up like your own blog, and you can load it into Marked, and it will steal the style of any page or blog and replicate it as a Marked custom style. So if you want to see how your stuff's going to look on your website, creating a custom style from your website is a click away now.
Is that with
Wild.
a new version with version 3?
Yeah.
I got to get in on this.
It also has markdownification tools, so you can take any website and convert it into Markdown and preview it in Marked, which makes it function a lot like readability mode in Safari, or reader mode in Safari. And I even made extensions for Firefox, Chrome, and Safari that you can click it on any web page and send selected text or the entire web page straight to Marked to read it as Markdown.
Yeah, I've been
got it in Markdown, so you can put it into your robot or do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
I've been come up with these ideas, Brett? Do you like wake up in the middle of the night, like cooking this stuff up?
Yeah, I wake up at 3 every morning with ideas in my head. What are you going to say, Christopher?
Oh, I was going to say I've been helping Brett, with testing for Marked 3. I had fallen off using Marked for a bit, just to slip my mind essentially. But this new version is really cool. Especially, like, for instance, with the style sealer, like if you're doing a guest post to a blog and you really want to see how your words are going to look in that environment, it is stupid easy to do. It's really
without needing any access to their CMS.
Exactly.
So,
And
yeah, I'm curious. I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead. You finish, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to say, and to sort of dovetail this with all the keyboard talk, a couple weeks ago, I sent Brett a message saying, hey, looks like all of the keyboard shortcuts in the menus are grayed out. And Brett informed me that, no, that's in all apps now. I had just not used the menu bar in long enough that, just doing stuff with the keyboard, that I didn't realize that now the shortcuts in menu bars are now dimmer than they used to be.
Yeah, there they are. Brett,
just to make it a little harder. Just to make it
yeah. Brett, you said you have ideas all the time. Where do you keep your ideas and tasks? Where do you write down these ideas you have? And then once your Marked 3 tasks and project management, where do those things live? Your ideas, your tasks, your projects?
So that's a 4-part answer. I'll keep it short. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I come up with ideas in kind of waking dreams. And if I wake up and I do want to go back to sleep, I open up drafts on my iPhone. I jot down all the details that I have in my head and then let it go, and I go back to sleep. Then when I get up, I check drafts, and I keep notes about all of these feature ideas in NV Ultra, which is another upcoming app of mine, based on NV Alt, which was based on notational velocity. But it's Markdown based, plain text note taking, and then I use a link to those notes to link it to either OmniFocus or TaskPaper. TaskPaper serves a very particular function for me, as I keep a TaskPaper file inside of every project on my disk. So as I'm CDing between directories in Terminal, I have a program called NA that reads the TaskPaper file from that directory, and as soon as I CD into it, it lists my next actions for that directory. So those actions then link back to NV Ultra, where I can follow up with more extensive notes on the feature that I added to TaskPaper. Anything that's more universal, life errand stuff, general ideas for projects I haven't started and don't have a TaskPaper file yet, those go into Omni.
You kind of rolled your own terminal-based task manager.
Yeah.
All right, one last follow-up for me then. My methodology is I use Bear Notes for everything. Everything. I'll put tasks and things, and maybe project management somewhere else. But like when it comes to notes, whether it's ideas, notes that I'm making for here, everything outside of collaboration, which I'll use Notion for, like with David for the show, I put everything in one place, because then I know when I search that one place, if I wrote anything about that thing, it's there.
Yeah.
And so what is the benefit to you of spreading your stuff out to so many places, it seems? And does that make it harder than to search?
No. Okay, so NV Ultra is a lot like Bear, where it's a big pile of notes and I can rapidly find anything I want with an omnibar search. I just hit Command L and I type a few letters of whatever I'm thinking of, and it'll generally find exactly what I'm looking for. In better than Bear, and because it works on a folder full of Markdown files. Those Markdown files are accessible. I can load them as a Vault in Obsidian. I can open them in a Markdown editor, like just super portable in that regard. And then as far as drafts goes, drafts is just that place where I pop the ideas out of my head, but then send them to NV Ultra, and then my OmniFocus and my task paper task all link back to NV Ultra. So NV Ultra for me is what you're describing Bear is for you. And I love Bear. Bear is a super cool app. Bear isn't like if you wanted to get all of your notes out of Bear and into something else, there are multiple steps involved with something like that.
Yeah. Well, and I tried to do it once we were talking about Claude Cowork and the robot assistant, and it's a process. But Obsidian, I know it's great, it's powerful. I just couldn't get my mind around the UI and like enjoy using it. And I do find like I need just a tad bit of whimsy in I think an app in order to really like be drawn to it and want to use it all the time. And Bear gives me enough of that. Things does that. And so I've not ever tried NV Ultra, but the portability I know is like, if I want my stuff there, this way when I change my mind in the future, if a new app comes out, maybe from Brett Terpstra, that I want to use for all my stuff, my Markdown stuff, then I can do that as opposed to being locked in. So I get that attraction.
Yeah. It's Obsidian is an acquired taste. And but I'm like you, Brett. I use drafts to capture things. I think maybe because I'm not a huge fan of the Obsidian UI, but I capture there, but I don't keep anything in there. It always gets shipped out somewhere else.
I do. So things like the Zoom link for my Friday morning yoga classes, I keep in drafts because then no matter what device I'm on, I just pop up drafts. I go to my flagged notes and then just tap the link and open up Zoom. There are some things that drafts is perfect for kind of a springboard for, but in general, I'm constantly archiving notes in drafts. I use drafts as when I'm coding and I'm using AI and it's working on something, and in the meantime, I have a whole other question I want to ask it, but I don't want to start a new agent. I go into drafts and I type out the prompt and I save that. And then when it's ready, I copy it in and archive that note in drafts.
I got one for you. If you're using Claude, they have an MCP for drafts now, so you can just tag that prompt as I tag them cowork, but you could tag it whatever, and then once a day, just have the robot go through and check drafts for anything with the tag and process it for you.
Nice.
So you get semi-autonomous processing.
That's news to me.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I wonder if Cursor has or is compatible with that MCP. I bet it is.
Yeah. Well, I am really happy that you are making this new version. And when I hear the feature list, I'm going to actually bug you when we're done to try and get an early release.
Sure.
This is great. And so go check out Mark III. Any idea? Do you know when it's going to go out to the world?
So I have submitted the final Gold Master to Apple for review for the Mac App Store. Just waiting on review there. I am going back and forth with Paddle right now for my direct purchase version, and switching over to Paddle billing for that. And it's a whole new API that I'm not 100% rock solid on yet, but have to figure out in a few days. And SetApp will be available at the same time the Mac App Store version is. It'll be on SetApp. It'll replace Mark II on SetApp, but Mark II will still be available elsewhere for people that just want the easy $14.99 dumber version. And SetApp is also offering a new single app purchase plan where you can subscribe or purchase an app outside of the SetApp marketplace for whatever price the developer sets. So it will be available on all of those platforms. And it is, I'm going to say days away. I can't predict how long reviews are going to take or how long Paddle's going to take to approve my checkout links and everything. But yeah, we're real close.
And we're recording this show several days before release, so if it's out, I will put the new links in the show notes, so you'll have them. If not, I'll put a link to Mark II, and you'll be able to go there. And I'm sure within days, Brett will have you set up.
If you go to Marked App, markedapp.com, that is the Mark III landing page where you'll be able to find all the links. There's still marked2app.com. Where you can find out more about Mark II, which will also eventually link to markedapp.com. Getting rid of those numbers. Yeah. Numbers are not future-proof. I've been on Mark II for like 10 years now.
Yeah, a lot of updates in those 10 years. All right, so we always like to wrap up sharing some of our favorite apps and services. Maybe there's a little app you're checking out. Anything bringing you joy and delight, Christopher?
Yeah, I volunteer with my nephew's high school robotics team, and unfortunately, I'm unable to make it to one of their most recent meets. So I was sort of doing mentorship remotely, and they use Discord for communication. And so I was recording videos demonstrating scouting techniques. We've got an app that we use for scouting. And so I was recording quick videos to show the kids how to use it and what to do, etc. And I was just bumping into that 10 meg limit on Discord. I don't have Nitro, so I was dealing with file sizes. So it was just so easy to pop open an old app, but an oldie but a goodie, Handbrake, to just simply get those files down in size without losing a ton of quality, and helping the kids out. It does what it says on the tin. It reduces size and lets you convert different resolutions of video files. And it was just super easy and fun. And I'm just glad that I could use that to help the kids.
Right. That is an app that never gets old. If
No,
you
sir.
need to do anything with video, get Handbrake. It's like a very easy solution.
Can I tag on to that? Have you guys seen Permute?
Yes. Yes.
From Charlie Monroe. It's basically an interface to FFmpeg, which I think Handbrake is as well. Handbrake is definitely the more powerful version. But if you just need to like convert a handful of AVI files to MP4 or MP4 to WebM, you can just drag and drop and hit play, and it's super nice.
That one's new to me. I'm gonna have to check it out. Do you use that, Steven?
I don't use Permute because I have compressor and I'm doing all kind of video stuff all the time. But same developer.
Fancy.
Well,
fancy must be nice.
Same developer as Downey, which we talked about in last week's episode. Another amazing app. We can't say too much if this is on YouTube because they don't like that app. But that's why you should get it. So yeah, we'll put those links in the show notes.
I would like to talk about Bloom. I have over the years really enjoyed Pathfinder and then Forklift, and Bloom is rapidly becoming my Finder replacement of choice, and it has just a huge array of customizability. You can do up to 4 panes in either direction. You can like have 4 square, like quartered panes. You can have bidirectional sync and a bunch of custom actions and handlers for different file types. In this screenshot you're looking at on the right hand side, those 4 little kind of buttons in the info panel, those are completely customizable. And in fact, I have one that I've added that uses FFmpeg to turn a 20 megabyte MP4 into a 4 megabyte MP4 with the click of a button, bypassing my need for Handbrake or Permute. FFmpeg is, I don't know if you guys have ever played with that tool, but it is insanely powerful, and it's insanely esoteric in its command line. They all look like incantations to me, and it takes me 20 minutes on Stack Overflow to figure out one thing to do with FFmpeg. But once you figure that incantation out, you can add it as an action in Bloom. And I've just really enjoyed it. There are certain things that Forklift is still superior at, especially when it comes to mounting cloud services or remote FTP servers, things like that. It's still better, but Bloom is catching up quick.
Bloom feels really good for day-to-day management. I like the way it has the pre-configured pane sets, so you can say, well, I want a big one on the left and 2 on the right or whatever, and it just sets them up.
And completely customizable keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
So like I can hit option 1, 2, 3, and 4 to switch between 1, 2, 3, and 4 panes.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but I agree with you. Whenever I do FTP stuff, Forklift has always been the best
Forklift
solution.
is solid. It hasn't always been the best solution, but for the last easily 5 years, it has been top notch.
That's great. And everybody go check out Baron Glass. If you know somebody that could use these guys, this is the A team. If you want to get your automation, your business running more smoothly, I think you've heard enough here to know. And also check out Mark III, Brett's new software. I can't wait to get my hands on it myself.
I have one more thing to plug, can I?
Yeah, sure.
So it's almost a companion to Mark III, but I'm working on this app called BlogBook, and it works with WordPress, Ghost, and micro.blog blogs, and will save your entire blog, your last 10 years or more of writing, into markdown files or an EPUB book that you can either open and marked and export to anything, or just distribute it in EPUB directly. Allison Sheridan has been helping me test this on her Nozilla cast, or her Nozilla blog, podfeet.com. And she has 4,000 posts with a ton of images, and it's really been the stress test for BlogBook, but it's coming along really well.
Is that
Keep an eye out
available
for
now?
that. No, that'll be available pretty much as soon as Marked is available.
I have since you plugged it, can I have one feature request? If there's any way you can make that take a Squarespace export and make it into a bunch of Markdown?
There are a bunch of blog platforms that I would love to support, but that don't offer any reasonable kind of API to work with.
Yeah.
I had considered like a web crawler that would actually just crawl a site, but the only way to really do that with any kind of chronological accuracy is through RSS feeds, and most RSS feeds only show you the last 10 articles, so it was kind of a dead end.
Okay, all right.
I need to get BlogBook now too. This has been a great show for me.
Yeah,
Talk to me after the show. I'll get you on the beta for BlogBook.
and you can find us at bearandglass.co. If you want to head to our website, or you could just email me. I'm Christopher at bearandglass.co. Always happy to talk.
Christopher at bearandglass.co. Baron Glass, great idea. As soon as I saw that you had built this thing, guys, I thought these are the two perfect people to do exactly this. I wish you the best of luck. I hope some people in ads can help you out and send some business your way. We are the Mac Power Users. You can find us over at relay.fm/MPU. Want to thank our sponsors this week. That's our friends over at 1Password and Ecamm. If you want to become a More Power Users subscriber, the extended ad-free version, this is a great time to do it. We just recorded our first bonus episode. We talked about Star Wars and we ranked the episodes. There were some feelings hurt, I'll be honest, but we got past it. And we're going to be trying to do that month-ishly. So a great time to sign up for More Power Users. You can do that over at relay.fm/MPU. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week.